Welcome back, everyone. We are here for a session with Tim. I'd like to reiterate that I have not plugged the electrical device back in. I adore my partner in crime, our partner in love, I should say. There are days, but today's not the day.
Oh, thank you, honey.
I think that was very measured, wasn't it?
It was.
Just showing that side of myself, everyone. What would you like to say?
So today I'd like to endeavour, because you can't guarantee you're going to get through this sensibly, right? So I'm going to endeavour to talk a little bit about, and maybe even have a shout out to those people who choose to educate their children themselves. We had the pleasure this morning of having a number of homeschooling mums that Chilla works with and hangs out with a bit, doing something like what you might do. Are you calling it a micro school? Yeah. Anyway, just people getting together with their kids, you know, like you do in nature, and where their kids are learning things like they do in nature, outside of a formalised, classroom, sit still children, sort of setting. You can tell I'm biased. We homeschooled our children till they wanted to escape, and or around year 10 level, where they went into the school system, well equipped, I might add. But and back then we were pretty neutral. We were, how can I say, we certainly, and still do, respect people's decision to send their children to a formal school, or a normal school, inverted commas. But we were very much, or certainly I'll speak for myself, Chilla might talk on this subject more at another moment, but my view was it's a valid option. School's cool for a lot of people, it works well, maybe if you're not too dumb and not too smart, blah blah blah, in my experience or assessment, but we elected to go a different path, and it was really just, hey, it's a valid option. Homeschooling or work, schooling from the home environment is not for everyone because of work circumstances, etc. But you know what? Today, I would be standing on the frickin' rooftop, just imploring people, please don't send your children to school. Please have a good look at the curriculum. A good look. Please look. You get one go. Get one go at bringing your children up. Please, we've our Undoctrinate YouTube channel is all about undoctrination, and please consider what the schooling system aims to do, what it achieves and what it doesn't achieve. Consider as well that, like we have these beautiful ladies here at our place on a weekend, planning out what they're doing for the coming term, responsible, let's say responsible at a minimum, making it fun, thinking about what's good for their children, what's good for them, and guess what? They're hanging out with their children. I would encourage you to examine the idea that a state can dictate or endeavour to dictate when your children leave your care for 8 hours a day. No way we're sending our 6-year-old off to someone else's care. Just no way. And I do not recognise any other person or state's right to try and tell me that I have to. And neither should you. So I'd love everyone to think on on those topics, and consider your options, because when I went to school, what was prescribed? One of the things that was prescribed was milk. I can well remember, I think 9 years old, year 4, having the milk that was just a bit too warm from having been left under the stairs by the milko in the little 300ml bottles, whatever you called it back in those days. I wonder what might be prescribed today, and how much control you have as a parent over what goes on in the school setting, both what's prescribed mentally, and whether then, as we see more and more push towards, mandatory or coerced vaccination efforts, gender issues, sex education issues, parents, you've got to take a look. Chilla still works with many children, and both those in a homeschool setting and in a regular school setting, and we are horrified and frightened about what we see and hear from the schooling system. And I applaud the beautiful ladies like we saw today, and all the other parents who make what I consider just a natural decision to wish to have their children in their own care, until their children at least of an age where it makes sense for them to go and get formalised education from another setting, whether that's in a trade or a science or whatever that might be. But we see what many parents are doing today when they're getting together as well, and they're so much more creative than we were. There's so much more resource than what we had available, 15, 20, whatever, give me a number, many years ago. I'm getting cold, 25. So the maths is going.
I know why.
And just doing a beautiful job, and having rich, rewarding relationships with their children, and sometimes, of course, wanting to just strangle them.
Yep.
But that's parenting, right? So.
I think they want to strangle us sometimes too.
Yeah, well.
Oh, we give it back. Most
certainly. So, but seriously, have a look, have a think. Just look at what you're enrolling your children into, and how close to anything natural it might represent.
And I think it's such a sale job. That's something I'll really quickly put in. It's like, it's sold. It's just another thing that's sold really hard, and I think how passionate people get about the subject is always an indication of how emotionally invested they are, And
the whole
you say
push.
The word homeschooling, hey, and it used to have a horrifying kind of response, but now it's a really lovely response. But at the same time, everybody had a response to it. He's got to get out.
Where are we up to on the clock?
7:55.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be back in a minute. No, he's going to just keep...
Well, if we want to keep chatting, I don't know, I'm barely compos mentis anymore, but... Okay. But I mean, also, let's think about what the education... What does education mean? So, a family chooses to get in a Toyota commuter, and go around Australia for 6 months with their 2 or 3 or 4 children or whatever, and they're going to visit different settings, they're going to be in different environments, they're going to see some different culture. There's education everywhere you look. You don't have to be sitting in being made to be still, sitting at a desk in a classroom, being bored out of your mind. And if you're smarter, I was a reasonably smart kid at school, then half the time your behaviour's not perfect because you're bored and you're not challenged. And this is, by the way, let me clarify, that for the people who have taught some of our children, and I don't think any of my dear teachers would still be with us on the planet, but some of them were beautiful people, and some of the people that we know from our children's experience in the school setting are beautiful people who put a huge endeavour into their professional career. I'm not having a go at them in any sense, and many of them that we've talked with, or a number that we've talked with over time, have expressed their own frustration with the system as such. Particularly when we see, I remember one of our children coming home with a physics assignment. It was an English assignment. There was no physics in it. And you know what it included? It included being able to pitch to get your funding. Now, have a look at what's going on at the moment with, pharma and government, and maybe that's a great skill to have developed. I'm really proud that my children didn't develop that particular skill. But we've got to broaden our sense of what education is and recognise that you should learn how to grow something. You might want to learn how to grow a shallot or a carrot or something. You maybe want to understand organic farming, be that in your backyard or on a larger scale. You might want to understand looking after your health. You might want to understand your body. You may need to understand how to defend yourself, both physically and mentally, in the current setting. You might want to understand the stars. You might want to understand how to navigate. You might want to do Captain Chris's course. Shout out to Captain Chris up
Captain Chris,
in
yay!
Early Beach, who's going to be on this show. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be on this show at some time. So maybe you need to learn how to build something, you know. So it's, yeah, I appreciate all that, and I sit at a computer in my day-to-day work, and I do accounting, and I look at legal things, and I have to read and comprehend and do maths and, you know, whatever. I'm a self-taught programmer, by the way, so you can self-educate, self-taught.
And that was
sort of
kind
quasi-lawyer.
of like at the beginning, wasn't it? Really, that was that era of when here and there you heard those stories that somebody basically completed a university level education without having sat a single exam, right? That was the unheard story, and well, that's Tim. Pretty amazing.
Thank you.
It's one of the things that
So
attracted me
but
to
my
you.
main point with this is that we've been...
Hang on, your head's
we've
cut
been,
off. Well, I want your head
let me
to...
sit for a moment.
Oh, good, because I don't have to hold this camera.
We've been sold for whatever, indoctrinated, taught, whichever way you want to look at it, that education is a certain thing. We're going to have a look at that. We're going to have a look at that box. I think we should actually push the sides down of the box, open the door up on this stuff, and have a look at how you want to educate your children, being in your care or in the care of others who you choose. And remember, if you know, Grandma makes good cookies, she's a teacher.
Amen.
Out for now.
Bye.